Yeah.
All right, so we're just going to dive right in. Can you let people know who you are and
Yeah.
more about Up Center Counseling?
Yeah. So I am Brentia Caldwell. People call me Tia. I've been a therapist for about 9 years, but this is actually my first full year in full private practice, owned by me, entrepreneur. And it's been great, like transforming lives, making money, doing things my way. It's been very fulfilling. But yeah, at the Up Center, we treat anxiety, depression, people enduring life transitions. So maybe a divorce, entering parenthood, things like that. Even like job transitions. We do a little bit of career counseling. And I say we because I have a fabulous therapist intern who works under me because I'm also a supervisor. And she's great. And yeah, I mean, we just get it popping over there, just trying to help people get to be their best selves.
Yes, ma'am. And Tia, just be your best self tonight because I know in your bio you said just therapy and ratchetry. So yes,
Yes,
ma'am, just
yes,
give it all tonight, okay? I really appreciate
yes.
it.
Always, always.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so depression. And I think it's very important for us to talk about the topic of depression because 2020 has really hit us. And I know a number of us are still in our lows and they may not understand what depression looks like. Traditionally, it's like people think that it's you staying in bed all the time, which can be. We also have like other symptoms like irritability, racing thoughts, the inability to be able to complete your daily activities, all of those different things, right? Hopelessness, helplessness, maybe suicidal thoughts, not always though.
Yeah,
But how do you help individuals, one, identify depression in
yeah.
their day-to-day living, and two, cope with it efficiently and effectively?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of those symptoms that you named, correct. So if a client comes to me or somebody comes to me and they're presenting with maybe at least 3 or 4 of those, we can kind of say, okay, you're dealing with some depressive symptoms and just kind of figure out what those triggers may have been or just really what's going on. So kind of fleshing through some thoughts to determine maybe what could be at the core of those depressed feelings. But we do a lot of thought redirection, so cognitive behavioral therapy. See, I don't want to talk therapy talk for like but I guess teaching clients how to positively redirect their thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
to change the depressed thinking or the negative thinking, kind of transforming those thoughts. Um, Journaling, uh, simple talk therapy, a lot of reflective exercises. So I always send clients home with something, and it's not like homework, like I'm a professor, but it's just things to think about in the meantime until we meet again, things that you can reflect on, identifying triggers, identifying some of those counterproductive behaviors that kind of propel depression. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a mixture of different treatments and techniques that you can use. It just kind of depends on the individual.
Definitely. And I know with depression for a number of things, because, this week has been Mental Illness Awareness Week. And so
Yes,
sometimes
yes,
we have to dive into explaining what the DSM is and all that jazz, and how you have like the moderate, severe,
yes.
and all the different levels. I think a lot of people fail to understand the importance of tracing back their lineage, right? So looking to see if depression runs in the family.
Yeah, see if it's
And
hereditary.
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely, definitely. And so, how do you help individuals work through that or identify that? Because I know in school we talk about like the genogram, but not a lot of individuals are probably going to sit down and connect the dots with that. And so,
Right.
how do you help? Mm-hmm.
Right. So with my intake information at the Up Center, we talk about history. And so even if you weren't, I guess, exactly sure, specifically sure, if one of your family members had a mental illness, we talk about those symptoms, like how did your mom act? How did your dad act? Behave or whatever. And we just kind of just try to make those connections because sometimes people don't know. People don't know, like, they may be used or accustomed to a certain behavior, not really realizing that that was probably some problematic behavior that either your mom or grandma displayed. So kind of like just breaking down those behavior patterns of the family. But I ask straight up, is there a history of mental illness or perceived? history. And then people be like, look, my mama's, she might not be depressed, but she depressed.
Yeah.
Or my mom, she might have bipolar, but she might not. I don't know, but she acts like it, right? So they'll, say those types of, comments. And then I'm like, okay, well, how does she behave? So just like I said, again, just starting to break that down and explaining the hereditary component of mental illness, that it's likely that if you're experiencing maybe depressive symptoms or just symptoms of a mental illness, it's likely that it has been present in your lineage, like you said, in the past,
Mm.
So yeah, just helping them make those connections.
Definitely. And I know we're probably going to take a little turn really quickly because I know right now we're focusing on depression, but you brought up an interesting disorder that a number of people tend to, I guess, utilize a lot in common language, like bipolar
Yes,
disorder, right? And
yes,
so traditionally it was known originally as manic depression, but
yes,
now it is in the DSM as bipolar disorder.
yes,
And so we know that with bipolar disorder, you have like those extensive amount of times of like depression. And
yeah,
then like you also have like those periods of mania.
yes.
And so how do you help clients who are trying to figure out whether strictly depressed or dealing with major depression, or am I in the area of like bipolar disorder, depressed type and
Yeah,
all that?
yeah. Yeah, and so like you said, you brought up the mania because that is the distinct difference between having like, major depressive disorder and, bipolar disorder. It is those real highs and real lows, a combination of fluctuation between the two. So just identifying if the client does experience mania, and that would be maybe having a lot of sex, engaging in a lot of risky sex, spending a lot of money, you know, letting those target runs, become, detrimental to your bank account, and doing it often, and just being impulsive, very hyper,
Mm-hmm.
so just, try to identify if any of their behavior aligns with that. And then again, just delving into how often that behavior is present, to what extent, like length. And
Mm-hmm.
so that just better helps to just identify if it is, bipolar disorder. Because, yeah, it can present in some similar ways to depression if that person is going through the depressed, component of the bipolar disorder.
One thing
Yeah.
that I really appreciated you when you were saying that you just ask straight out. You create the
Yeah.
conversation or create the room for conversation, and I find that to be very important, especially when people are trying to figure out whether or not therapy is for them. I think
Yes.
sometimes like clients pretty much try to see whether or not the level of distress may deter the relationship with the therapist. And so just the mere fact that you're able to just go full force, I love that. And
Yeah.
so can you talk a little bit about your perspective on the therapeutic rapport and how you help create that relationship for the new client?
Yeah, I mean, therapy is the relationship. If
Mm-hmm.
we don't have one, it won't work, and you can be the most fabulous therapist in the world, but that doesn't mean that you have a fit with everyone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just trying to establish if there's a good fit. I mean, because personalities can be off, I'm not for everybody, you know. I am a little ratchet, you know what I'm saying? I do allow, a space of, cursing and whatever needs to happen. And sometimes people prefer a more like structured and more I don't want to say dignified per se, but something more like that. And so it just depends. But I definitely try to set the tone that this space is for you, however you want to utilize it, however you want to express yourself, cry, scream, cuss. I always say that, cry, scream, cuss. It's on you. This space is safe for you to do all of that and more so that we can get you to your best self, your best you. And I always tell them if there's ever a time in therapy where you kind of want to redirect or, spend more time on another component, let me know, because this space and this process is about you. And so just kind of harping on that and just really nurturing that relationship and building that rapport. Yeah, it's crucial. I mean, it's everything.
Yes, love it, love it,
Yeah.
love it, love it. Now, I know with Legacy Squad, the people who are my audience, there's just an array of individuals who are part of this community, whether it's individuals who are just now jumping into therapy or are trying to strengthen their therapeutic approach, or just trying to just find ways to connect with other individuals. I also have a lot of entrepreneurs who are in the squad as well. And so for somebody like yourself, you are a Black business owner,
Yeah.
and ma'am, you are in a year of business. And so how do you tend to your own personal mental health as a female Black entrepreneur?
Yeah, so self-care, and any of my clients will tell you, I talk about self-care all day, every day. I take care of myself. I sleep, I eat, I take breaks. I don't overcrowd my schedule. I keep my schedule very breezy to make room for life, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and its happenings. And I mean, it just helps. But I'm also a planner. So I am organized, and that helps me to live that kind of life. Um, so yeah, definitely, you know, putting self-care onto the schedule, onto the calendar. I mean, I prioritize myself. And I think it's important as a therapist that, like, you know, if I'm telling other people to take care of themselves, I need to be doing it too.
Yes.
You know, the hypocrisy, you know, how dare I, you know, so
Yes.
definitely taking care of myself and modeling that behavior, you know?
Definitely, I agree. When you said that, I was like, yes. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that is so true.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like sometimes I find myself like, okay, I'm trying to teach somebody forgiveness or walk them through the steps of forgiveness, but I'm struggling in that area. Or like even with self care, it's so interesting. I think as like a therapist, where you get a client that's kind of dealing with the same issues that you're dealing with, and it's just like,
Girl, girl. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes. So true. And that's so interesting because like there are times where like I'll have a client and they're just like our lives are like mimicking each other. And I'm like, girl, I'm over here telling you all this good stuff that I need to apply to my own life. Like, I'm so fake in here. Like, why am I so fake? Oh my gosh. You know. But yeah, but then like after those particular sessions, like I debrief and I'm like, you know what? I gotta start living in that truth too. So like I'll try to apply some of the tactics that I was, you know, just discussing. But yeah, that happens all the time. I'd be like, oh my God, like, girl, you were so fake in there, like, you know, you need to live that. You know, so yeah, definitely.
definitely, definitely. And I think one thing to consider too, because I know like 2020 has been a crazy year and we're getting ready to approach the winter time. And, you know, we deal with like seasonal affective disorder and whatnot.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what seasonal affective disorder is, it's just like when your mood is shifting based upon the seasons. It's usually seen more in like the darker months, so to speak. So towards the end of fall to the top of spring. Some people experience seasonal affective disorder in the summer, but it's very, very rare. And so, especially now with the climate change and the weather and all that stuff, we're going to have a tough time as we enter like this new flu season and battling COVID and all this stuff. And
Yes.
so, what tips do you have for individuals who historically deal with seasonal affective disorder?
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. And also with the holidays coming around, that can also be a trigger for
Mm-hmm.
people to just have some depressive symptoms. And so I always say, be intentional about finding those pockets of joy. So if there are activities that you are partaking in that maybe you stopped, activities that you enjoy, you know, bring it back out. You know, so if painting is your thing, doing puzzles, you know, just intentionally creating those pockets of joy so that you can have those kind of as I guess backup resources per se, you know, when you find yourself kind of getting into those, you know, dark pockets during this time. And then also kind of taking a step back from maybe triggers or stimuli that, you know, maybe could be counterproductive to you feeling well. And that could be a step back from social media, you know, because as the holidays come about and you don't really have maybe the family that you want or the family support that you want or the finances that you want. If you're watching other people buy cars for Christmas, you know, spend time with their family for Thanksgiving, you're going to feel away, you know. So maybe just even, you know, taking a step back from there. But yeah, just identifying some of those triggers and identifying some of those activities that bring you joy and partaking in them. But being intentional about it. And then, you know, it's always self-care. So doing things that you like that make you feel well internally and externally.
Definitely, definitely. And I definitely want to echo what you just said, being intentional, creating a plan. If you know that the season is coming up, start figuring out what worked previously before and what did not work. Figure
Yeah.
out what are some things that you can change and add to your specific plan. And don't be afraid to tag a friend in, or a neighbor or
Yes.
a loved one, right?
Yeah.
I know with the weather changing, you may have to get a little jacket of some sort to take a walk around the block, or the sun is going to go down a lot faster. There are like lamps, or like other little tools that you can create natural light in the home, or it can
Yeah.
mimic natural light in the home. So Amazon is your friend, child. Figure out what works
Okay.
for you, okay?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Tia, did you have anything else?
Well, no, I just want to say, yeah, with the sun, try to soak up sun if you can. Like, if you can find some periods during the day where you can like step out and just kind of soak in some rays, definitely, because that could help with the mood as well. So yeah, you brought up a good point. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. But Tia, I want to be honorable of your time.
Yeah.
Can you please let the people know where they can find you? Even though I've tagged you and everything, and you're going to be tagged on this and the replay. But please let the people know where they can find you and learn more about Up Center Counseling.
Sure. So it's upcentercounseling.com. That's the website. And you can find out a little bit more about me and my therapist intern, Nicole Allen. We are located in Decatur, Georgia, but we're not seeing nobody in person right now, okay? Until it's safe in the streets, we are all virtual. But we have good Wi-Fi, so we shouldn't have no problem, okay, with that. So definitely, you can visit the website, and there's a contact tab on the website. Reach out if you are seeking therapy services, and also for counselors, fellow counselors, if you are seeking supervision to become licensed, which is a very big deal. Definitely reach out to me, because I'm also a approved clinical supervisor for those seeking licensure. So yeah, and even in the coming year 2021, we're probably going to start to offer small groups. So just be prepared for that. But yeah, any questions, hit me up, email me at Brentia, Brentia, at upcentercounseling.com, or you can give me a call at 404-576-8682.
Yes, ma'am. And let me see. Does anybody have any questions before we hop off? Hopebound Mental Health is saying that Brentia is a fire supervisor for Hopebound. Yes,
Thank you, Christina.
love it.
I appreciate that, girl. Yes.
So thank y'all so much for your time. As always, like I mentioned, every interview that I do, I tag them in. So please connect with them. Slide in the
Yes.
DM.
Yes.
Okay, so make sure that you do what you do. But thank you so much for your time, Brentia. I greatly
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.